All right, on to the House. It voted today to rebuke President Trump's tariffs on Canada. 6 Republicans joined Democrats, passing a resolution to repeal those tariffs. It seeks to end the national emergency that the president declared to impose those tariffs. But the rare bipartisan vote against the White House agenda is largely symbolic. Actually, undoing the policy would require support from Trump himself. The resolution is now heading to the Senate.
Hey guys, Adam is here. Let me tell you something that should make every single American stop and think about what is happening to our relationship with our closest ally. Donald Trump decided to pick a full-blown economic war with Canada, our neighbor, the country we share the longest peaceful border in human history with, and he is treating them like they are some kind of enemy state. But here is the part that should terrify him.
President Trump, meanwhile, is threatening to block the opening of a bridge connecting Detroit and Canada, quote, until the United States is fully compensated for everything we have given them. The Gordie Howe International Bridge has been under construction since 2018 and would be a third route connecting Michigan and Canada, including another bridge and a tunnel. U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer defended the president's stance on this earlier today.
They didn't necessarily use American content in a bridge that's going into the United States. There's a question as to the proceeds of tolls, et cetera, and so there's going to be a negotiation on that front into how that bridge should be treated if it's going to be going into the U.S.
It is starting to backfire so badly that even his own party cannot ignore it anymore. Just this week, the United States House of Representatives, controlled by Republicans, his party, the people who are supposed to be loyal to him no matter what, voted to overturn his tariffs on Canada, 219 to 211. 6 Republicans crossed the aisle and said, "We are done. This is hurting our people back home. We are not doing this anymore." And Trump lost it. He jumped on Truth Social and threatened every single Republican who voted against him, writing that they would seriously suffer the consequences come election time, including primaries. Think about that for a second. The President of the United States is openly threatening members of his own party for daring to vote on behalf of their own constituents who are getting crushed by his trade war. He does not care about the farmers in Nebraska getting hammered. He does not care about the auto workers in Michigan watching their supply chains fall apart. He does not care about the small business owner in Colorado who just got slapped with a surprise $20,000 tariff bill and has no idea what her costs will be next week. All he cares about is loyalty, blind, total, absolute loyalty, and if you do not give it to him, he will try to end your career. And that is not even the wildest part of this week. Because right before that vote, Trump went on Truth Social and threatened to block the opening of a brand new bridge, the Gordie Howe International Bridge, a bridge that Canada literally paid for out of their own pocket. A nearly $5 billion project. A bridge that connects Detroit to Windsor, Ontario. A bridge that would create thousands of jobs on both sides of the border and cut crossing times by 20 minutes for truckers hauling goods back and forth. A bridge that Trump himself endorsed back in 2017 when he called it a vital economic link between the two countries. And now he wants to block it from opening until Canada gives the United States half ownership of the whole thing. A bridge they paid for. He wants half of it for free because he feels like it. You cannot make this up. This is not how you treat an ally. This is not how you negotiate with a friend. This is how you pick a fight with your next-door neighbor and then act shocked when they stop lending you their lawnmower and start hanging out with the guy across the street instead. And here is the thing. Canada is not backing down. Not even a little. Prime Minister Mark Carney is out there on the world stage telling everyone that Canada does not exist because of the United States, that Canada thrives because Canadians are Canadian, and he is rallying other countries to push back against what he is calling economic coercion and intimidation by larger powers. He did not say Trump's name, but everybody in that room knew exactly who he was talking about. Trump's own strategy, his whole tough guy approach, is literally pushing our closest trading partner into the arms of China. Canada just cut a preliminary deal with Beijing on electric vehicles and farm products, and Trump absolutely flipped out about it. But guess what? The only reason Canada is even talking to China right now is because Trump has been kicking them in the teeth for over a year straight. He created the very problem he is now screaming about. He pushed Canada away and then got mad that Canada started looking for new friends. Let's walk through how we got here because the timeline is insane. It started back in early 2025 when Trump slapped tariffs on Canadian goods using the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, declaring that fentanyl and illegal immigration coming from Canada was a national emergency. Look, Canada is not Mexico. The northern border is not where the fentanyl crisis is coming from in any serious way. Everybody with half a brain knew this was really about leverage and political optics. But he did it anyway, because that is what he does. Then, over the course of 2025, he just kept cranking up the heat. He raised tariffs on some Canadian goods to 35% by August. He threatened to decertify Canadian-made Bombardier business jets unless Canada certified American Gulfstream planes. He kept calling Canada the 51st state like it was some kind of hilarious joke. And he just generally treated the entire country and its people like subordinates instead of a sovereign nation and one of our oldest allies. And here is where it gets really interesting. All of that pressure, all of that bullying, all of that chest-thumping tough guy nonsense did not make Canada more cooperative. It made them more independent. It made them dig in. Prime Minister Mark Carney started charting a completely different foreign policy course. He went to Beijing. He sat down with Chinese leaders. He cut a preliminary trade deal where Canada would let in up to 49,000 Chinese electric vehicles at a lower tariff rate, and in return, China would drop tariffs on Canadian canola and farm products. Then he went to the World Economic Forum in Davos and gave a speech where he basically told the entire world that we are living through a rupture in the global order and that middle powers like Canada need to band together to resist economic coercion from larger countries. He warned about nations using tariffs as leverage and supply chains as weapons. Trump knew exactly who he was talking about, and he immediately got petty, revoking Canada's invitation to join his so-called Board of Peace. Then on January 24th, he dropped the hammer. A threat of 100% tariff on all Canadian goods if Canada finalized its trade deal with China. 100% on everything. From the country that is our second biggest trading partner on the planet, the country that sends us 60% of our crude oil imports, 85% of our electricity imports, the largest foreign supplier of steel and aluminum and uranium to the United States. Nearly $3 billion worth of goods and services crossing that border every single day. And he wants to put a 100% tariff on all of it. Here is the part that makes you want to bang your head against the wall. Just 1 week before that threat, on January 16th, Trump was asked by reporters whether he was worried about Canada getting closer to China. And he said, "And this is real. This actually happened." That's what he should be doing. It's a good thing for him to sign a trade deal. If you can get a deal with China, you should do that. 7 days. He went from, "That's a good thing," to 100% tariff on everything in 7 days. That is not strategy. That is chaos. That is a guy reacting to whatever he saw on TV that morning. Then came the Gordie Howe Bridge fiasco. This massive infrastructure project that has been under construction since 2018, that Canada financed entirely at a cost of almost $5 billion, that was negotiated under a Republican governor in Michigan named Rick Snyder that Trump endorsed in a joint statement with Justin Trudeau back in 2017, and that was literally weeks away from finally opening and creating thousands of jobs for people in Detroit and Windsor. Trump went on Truth Social and said he would not allow the bridge to open until Canada gave the U.S. half ownership and treated America with fairness and respect. Michigan Senator Alyssa Slotkin called it economic sabotage against Michigan. Senator Gary Peters said Trump was punishing Michiganders for a trade war the president himself started. Even Rick Snyder, the Republican former governor who built the original deal, came out and said the only real winner from blocking this bridge would be the billionaire Moran family that owns the competing Ambassador Bridge and has spent years and over $33 million trying to kill the Gordie Howe project so they can keep their private toll monopoly. Michigan voters already rejected the Moran family's ballot proposal to block this bridge back in 2012 by a margin of 59 to 41. The people spoke. They wanted this bridge. And now, Trump is trying to do through presidential threats what one rich family could not do through the ballot box. That is not putting America first. That is putting one politically connected billionaire family first. Carney called Trump and explained the whole situation, that the bridge is jointly owned by Canada and Michigan, that American steel and American workers helped build it, and Trump apparently told him to work it out through the U.S. ambassador. So even his own threat kind of deflated within about 48 hours. But the damage was done. The uncertainty was out there. Businesses on both sides of the border were left wondering if this man would blow up the most important trade corridor in North America just to post something tough on social media. Then came the House vote. Democrats had been trying to force a vote on a resolution to end Trump's Canada tariffs for months, and Speaker Mike Johnson had been blocking it with procedural tricks. He passed rules that prevented any tariff votes from coming to the floor. But that rule expired in January, and when Johnson tried to extend the ban through July, 3 Republicans voted with Democrats to kill it. Johnson's razor-thin one-vote majority crumbled right in front of him. When the actual tariff vote came the next day, 6 Republicans crossed over. The vote was 219 to 211, with only 1 Democrat voting against it. And these Republicans who crossed over were not just quietly slipping their votes in. Jeff Hurd went on the record saying he talked to farmers and manufacturers and steel companies in his district, and they all told him the tariffs were hurting them. Don Bacon straight up asked why Congress cannot stand on its own 2 feet and act like an independent branch of government, instead of just doing whatever the president tells them to. That takes real guts in this political climate where Trump will try to destroy you for disagreeing with him even once. Now look, the vote is mostly symbolic. Trump can veto it, and there is nowhere near a 2/3 majority to override that veto. Johnson called it a fruitless exercise and said it would not change anything. But that misses the point entirely. It is not fruitless. It is a signal. It is a crack in the foundation. It is Republicans going on the record in an election year saying that this trade war is bad policy and it is hurting real people. And Democrats have already unlocked the procedural power to force more votes on tariffs against Mexico, on the so-called Liberation Day tariffs, on the whole trade agenda. This is not going away. The pressure is only going to build from here. The polls show why Republicans are getting nervous. 6 out of 10 Americans disapprove of Trump's tariffs. His overall approval is sitting in the low 40s at best and underwater by double digits in most polling averages. His approval on the economy, the one issue he was supposed to dominate on, has been tanking for months. Independent voters, the ones who actually decide elections, are running away from him on this issue faster than anything else. And we are 9 months out from midterm elections where Republicans could very realistically lose the House. The Supreme Court is also weighing whether Trump even has the legal authority to impose these tariffs through emergency powers. A federal appeals court already ruled last August that the Emergency Powers Act does not actually give the president the right to slap tariffs on countries. If the Supreme Court agrees, and multiple reports say the justices seemed skeptical during oral arguments, then Trump's entire tariff regime could get struck down. That ruling could come any day between now and the end of the court's term this summer. If the court rules against Trump, it would be the single biggest legal blow to his economic agenda since he took office. His whole trade war could unravel with one decision. And the Canada relationship itself? Trump's whole theory was that maximum pressure would bring Canada to heel, that if you squeeze hard enough, they will come crawling back. But the opposite has happened. Canada is diversifying away from America. Canada went to China and cut a deal. Canada is building new trade relationships around the world. Canada boosted its military spending so it does not have to rely so heavily on American defense. Canada's Prime Minister is on the world stage rallying other nations to resist American economic bullying. Every single threat Trump makes pushes Canada further away. He created the very conditions he is now complaining about. You do not get to kick someone in the teeth every day for 12 months and then throw a tantrum when they start looking for a new dentist. So where does this end up? Trump might quietly back down on some of this. Reports are already coming out that he is looking at scaling back certain tariffs because of how badly they are dragging his numbers down. They have started calling it the taco strategy. Trump always chickens out because he makes these massive threats and then walks them back when the heat gets too intense. But he also might double down, because that is the other thing he does when he feels cornered. He escalates. He attacks harder. The truth is that nobody in Washington really knows which version of Trump is going to show up on any given morning. And that uncertainty itself is the problem. Businesses cannot plan. Allies cannot trust us. Congress cannot govern, and the American people are stuck paying higher prices for everything because of a trade policy that most of them did not ask for and do not support.